I think I found the biggest disappointment of the year, folks. Before I summarize the movie, I'll make the shilling quick. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy what you hear in this video. Ballerina follows a young Eve, whose father was killed after leaving a cult. 16 years later, after being picked up by Winston and brought to the director of the Ruska Roma, Eve has grown up and itches to get into the field. After a 20-minute montage of her getting her ass kicked, the movie straight up tells Eve she will always be smaller, weaker, and at a disadvantage, so she must cheat to win every fight. This is what I'm talking about. No bullshit, she has to do what must be done to win. Yes! And for Eve's first task in the field, she must defend a woman for no good reason and then take on 5 guys at the same time. Okay, yeah, you can't toy with my emotions like this movie. Anyway, put a pin in that because we have to discuss that later. So, Ballerina's events are parallel to John Wick Chapter 2 when she meets the Baba Yaga himself, who is completely respected in this movie for anyone wondering. After completing additional hits, Eve stumbles across men bearing the same X brand as those who killed her father. After turning to Winston and the director for information, both of whom have or give little, a bounty for one Daniel Pine gains her attention. Traveling to Prague, Eve confronts Daniel, who's in the same situation as Eve once was, defending a young girl, Ella, and fleeing the cult. After another fight brought upon by an increase of Daniel's bounty, both Daniel and Ella are captured by the cult, who don't finish off Daniel or Eve. I don't know. I stopped asking questions a while ago, and the movie still demands I apologize for no good reason. Anywho, after being spared by Continental security in the literal next shot, Eve finds an armorer, and in the middle of her shopping spree, the cult shows up to kill her and the armorer. Why? Why? Why didn't you just kill her before? So, after killing the assassins, the armorer basically tells Eve where the cult resides. She heads there, and in a scene straight out of Resident Evil 4, the entire village are assassins. The men, women, children, the furniture, everything. It's just everything's got guns, and Eve is captured. She's bound to a chair with her wrists and ankles each tied separately, and under guard by 5 different men with drawn rifles. Man, what a specifically odd detail. Then the Chancellor arrives and learns that Eve is in fact the little girl from the beginning of the movie that he didn't go and confirm her body. And it turns out that his right-hand girl who spared her back in Prague is actually Eve's sister. Man, what an earth-shattering revelation that will totally rock the foundation of the narrative. I can't wait to see how she survives this adventure and joins Eve in a sequel. While the two talk, somehow, Eve, off camera, escapes her bindings and defeats all but one of the guards before her sister saves her from the last one. Yeah, at this point I was done. I rolled my eyes so far into the back of my own head I was revisiting past memories. So Eve runs off and her super important to the narrative sister tracks her down, they talk, and then a couple grenades remove her from the plot. This led me to ask why even include the revelation. Anyway, more guards with guns already drawn die because how else would Eve survive this before she runs off with some equipment she stole? This is where the Chancellor and Director discuss the possibilities of war as Eve has broken their tenuous truce. Then, the Director sends someone to kill Eve and restore the peace. John Wick himself. Wick arrives and tries to talk her down, but they end up fighting. Again, the movie handles him with absolute respect because what he does to Eve is nothing shy of flawless victory. The dude beats the brakes off her before she begs him to let her kill the Chancellor. Wick obliges, and the final battle begins, with her wiping out numerous villagers with different items like ice skates and a flamethrower before she's helped by Wick, who has his own little fight, and then Eve kills the Chancellor. Ella is reunited with Daniel, Wick goes off to Chapter 3 and 4 a ton more people, and a bounty is placed on Eve, so she flees into the shadows. The Wick franchise has never been known for its writing, which amounts to reading the directions on how to open a can of whoop-ass. So when I say it's poor, it's homeless on the streets of Chicago poor. I'm fine with the basic revenge plot. It's the inclusion of random things that go nowhere, like Eve spontaneously has a sister who serves the plot so little she has less screen time than Raditz. Or how about the numerous times Eve should have died? I genuinely lost track of how many times this occurred. For example, this fight with a sword that I talked about earlier is right after her sister dies. There are 6 or 8 men ordered to kill her in this scene. Definitively, kill her on sight. Each of them has a drawn rifle, and instead of pumping her so full of lead she'd be physically immune to radiation, they all run run up to be disarmed so she can kill them. This happens all the time. This is this crazy cult that killed her father, but they don't kill her or Daniel despite orders or reasons to? Come to think of it, if the point and purpose of going after Eve's father was to either kill him, her, or both, then why not confirm any of the three outcomes? The entire premise of this movie rests on the Chancellor being too lazy to check for bodies. Now, again, the first 30 to 35 minutes are mostly solid, barring a few issues, and the admittance of Eve's inherent shortcomings when fighting men is awesome. That's what I want to hear and see, because that's one of the big issues with heroines today, fighting men on equal footing when we aren't. Women almost always must fight men in different ways, or else. Acknowledging this is fantastic and a huge wake-up call for Hollywood, but the movie goes against this in almost every fight, smashing her and numerous assassins into each other like a bunch of action figures. So the writing is mostly crap, but what about the action? Suspension of disbelief is inherent in movies like this. It's not impossible for women to win a fight against men, but it's exceptionally difficult. The Wick series got out of hand immediately with some of the action in 2, and then 3 said fuck it and went full anime with assassins appearing out of literal shadow and Wick surviving falling off a building. This bugged me as much then as it does now, so no, I'll criticize John Wick for that as much as I will Ballerina. Anna's half Keanu's size, and despite his age, he'd still fold her like a chair made of balsa wood, so my threshold for disbelief is smaller than the tent I pitch in the morning. You see, Eve can't take all these men at the same time, so each one should take turns as she does them dirty. Surprisingly, most like it from the front, looking her in the eyes, while amazingly, few try to take her from behind, despite the possibilities. Things get daring when Eve tries to take more than one dude at once, though. In those scenes, you'd think she's boned, dividing her attention to the front, back, or sides. But I gotta hand it to Ana de Armas. She doesn't jerk around. She's always got a leg up, and no matter how deep things go, she always comes out on top. This is because no matter how hard life grabs her by the hair, she'll drop down and give it a good twist in return. The problem is, this selling point isn't consistent with the movie. Ballerina relies too heavily on stuntmen pulling their punches because Anna is too slow, misses her timing, or is just too awkward and sluggish to keep up. This doesn't help the action because most of the time she's fighting men hand to hand in contrast to what she was told to do. So when moments like this one where she catches an axe kick from this guy, then saves him 50% on bottom surgery, I smile because this is the cartoonish femme fatale action I want to see. But the majority of the time she's throwing hands with men or trying to wrestle them and doesn't get knocked out faster than Ben Askren, or the numerous times someone walks onto camera and strikes a menacing pose, but she doesn't shoot like the villager with his own flamethrower. She just stands there. Even an illegal in the headlights moves faster than she does. Run or shoot, woman. I really had hope for Ballerina. I wanted to like this movie, and there are certainly elements I enjoy, but the core of the writing and action are so terribly executed. This is by far the weakest in the Wick franchise by a wide margin. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, then please like, share, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video.